All right. So it has recently come out that Marilyn Manson has dropped his lawsuit against his primary accuser, Evan Rachel Wood, and her co conspirator, Il McGore. And so this is generating a lot of different responses, some of the typical expected responses in the media. Although I have to say that even with all of the negative headlines that this situation is getting yesterday and today from the media, announcing, almost gleefully announcing that Manson has dropped the lawsuit, at the same time, I do see that in a number of these major stories, there's still some truth that's getting slipped in there. And that truth is Manson's own allegations in his lawsuit against Evan Rachel Wood and Ilma Gore. So even though the lawsuit has been dropped, still some of the main points of the lawsuit are being promoted by the very articles that are seeking actually to discredit Manson. So that's interesting. And what it does point to is the fact that this lawsuit was effective in doing the primary thing that it was apparently intended to do, and that is provide Manson a place to get his side of the story, or to get the truth out there and to expose this hoax in a way that would have more credibility and that might get the attention of some in the public and the media. So I said this, I talked about this for 2 hours, over 2 hours last night on my live stream. And if you want to know how I feel about all of this, that's really the place to go, because there's only so much I can say in these short videos or in really pithy, pointed posts on Instagram or Twitter, right? But I said that I totally understand, on the one hand, a sense of frustration by people who didn't see this coming, and they've sort of been like slapped in the face with this, and had really pinned a lot of their hopes as Manson supporters on the fact that Evan Rachel Wood and her conspirators would get some kind of long-awaited comeuppance, or at least that this thing would go further into the legal process than it has, so there would be more exposure of this hoax, and Evan Rachel Wood and, Ilma Gore and her conspirators wouldn't be allowed to get off the hook. So I totally understand that perspective. And in fact, I had a very pointed message today on my Instagram and Facebook for people who might be criticizing. And this isn't any of the major accounts, Manson accounts I'm talking about. I'm just talking about like things that I've seen here and there, and then I'm hearing here and there, people being criticized or made to feel bad for reacting negatively to this. And what I said in my post is that people are not machines, and they're not, like I think I said, air conditioners, and you can't just change them from one setting to another, not after what's been years now of people, of Manson supporters, being told basically in a way, and I don't think I was the only one doing this, being told to sort of, rally and be strong and stay out there defending him. And we're his, we are in a way sort of advocates for the truth in this out there online, very much like the Justice for Johnny Depp movement. Well, you can't do that for day after day and month after month and year after year, and you can't also point to a lawsuit regularly as an indication of something. Yeah, in this lawsuit he said this, in this lawsuit this. Well, you can't do all of that without people getting emotionally invested. And so there's no doubt about it. Short term, this is an extremely bad time. It is in terms of Manson's PR, I'll say this. It is painful, I know, for a number of people, and that's totally legitimate. And I don't think anyone needs to feel bad about that or feeling that way or apologize for it. But at the same time, I have to say also, as I said in my program, there was really, I don't think, any way that he could continue this without it being a foolish decision on his part. I'm talking about this lawsuit. It was very clear that the California system legally was stacked against him. It is the least friendly of all states in the nation. California is, I should say, least friendly, most hostile to these types of defamation lawsuits. That's why Johnny Depp, even though he and Amber Heard lived in California for most of their marriage, and a lot of shit went down there, this is why Johnny Depp actually looked for a state other than California in which to file his defamation lawsuit. And so that's why they focused so much on that Washington Post op-ed and chose to go that front. So it's very understandable. The judge in this had already signaled basically that she didn't take Manson's perspective seriously. She gutted a lot of his lawsuit, and that had to do with these anti-SLAPP rules and regulations and stuff that people don't really understand fully or what have you. But basically, though, She gutted his lawsuit, and then also at times she would complain in legal briefings, the judge, about how tired and exhausted and overburdened she was having to read all these filings by Manson's team. So I really did get the sense that that was going to be a dead end. And so you're looking at, if you're him, spending a shitload of money because, yes, he was ordered months ago to pay the legal fees of Evan and Ilma to the tune of $300,000. It is just being reported now as a new thing. It's not. And again, it goes back to this procedural hearing. But at any rate, people say, oh, well, he's already paying out $300,000. Yeah, but we're talking about millions to proceed with these types of cases. And he's still got other lawsuits against him that he's having to deal with and that I don't think he's going to want to settle. Miss Repressed Memories, Ashley Walters. Miss, I changed my story from how it was in that hour and a half podcast that I did. Bianca Kine Elaine. So anyway, he's still got these crazy, lying, opportunistic bitches to deal with. And so this thing, it was just going to be sapping tons of money and tons of time. And I think we all understand that time is precious. And he may not have wanted to be on the phone with his lawyers every single day and worrying about this hearing that's going to be this many months down the road when he's wanting to do something else or do a tour or go to a show or what have you. And all the time, all the mental stress of just every day having these kinds of legal burdens on you with no resolution in sight. It is a lot to deal with. It really is. And so I think that what he's done makes sense. I totally understand also the frustration, and it's very, very hard, I know, for people to see the gloating online and to know that that the situation is being misunderstood. But just understand this, and this is what I kind of want to leave us with. The perpetrators in this, the hoaxers, the conspirators, they have been tainted by this. And I guarantee you they did not expect that they were going to receive the kind of criticism and public ridicule that we and others have rightfully heaped on them, and that now has become a part of like their permanent record on the internet, so to speak. And even Evan Rachel Wood, I know she's got other jobs in the pipeline, movies or series coming up or what have you. But you go online and you Google her and you do even like a slightly more than cursory search, or you just dig just a little bit deeper beneath the surface of those initial few Google entries that come up for you. And you're going to start seeing a lot of dirt, and you're going to start seeing a lot of videos by someone named Colonel Kurtz, and a lot of videos and posts by people named Marilyn Manson Uncanceled or Marilyn Manson Cases or Truth for Manson or whoever the fuck, all of us, and Twitter posts and Instagram posts that you all have done and TikTok posts. They're going to start seeing that shit because it's all right there, and there is a ton of it. Together in the aggregate, cumulatively, with the stuff that I've done and all of you have done or contributed to or supported in any way, there's a lot of shit out there about her and the truth about her character. I mean, just the stuff that came out about her family court sagas and kidnapping her kid, and Jamie Bell basically saying this woman is crazy and she's delusional, all of that. I mean, as the Visa card commercial would say, priceless. And all of those things got exposed. Ashley Morgan Smithline's recanting of her story and her legal declaration that this whole thing was a hoax and a lie, and that she was pressured to lie by Evan Rachel Wood and Esme Bianco. The FBI letter that Evan Rachel Wood faked, that, yes, was presented in family court with Jamie Bell, but would not have gotten the attention that it got if it were not brought up, if it had not been brought up in Marilyn Manson's lawsuit. So there were all of these things that, even though the lawsuit is done, and I understand the frustration, and it's totally okay for people to be frustrated or pissed or whatever, even though that lawsuit is done, and the media, they're getting their gloating in, and the pro Evan Rachel Wood anti-Manson people, they're getting their gloating in. It is temporary. There's one hell of an aftertaste, of a negative aftertaste, that this whole saga is going to leave when it comes to the perpetrators and the hoaxers. And that is, it's not only not nothing, it's so far from nothing, it is significant. So keep that in mind. And keep in mind also that that was a product of this lawsuit, no matter what kind of an end this lawsuit has come to. And I think that the vast majority of people either don't give a shit about this story Or to the extent they know about it, they just think of it as like, oh yeah, that was that sort of like weird, like kind of grimy situation where like these women accuse that rock star of something, of Manson, Marilyn Manson of something, but then like, wasn't there something that came out of like they were kind of being shady or blah blah blah, blah. Like that's the way people will think of it from now on. And from now on, for many, many years, Evan Rachel Wood, no matter where she goes or what job she applies for, she will have a kind of a stigma, a sort of a scarlet letter, more metaphorically speaking, sort of following her around with this, with people who, even if they don't really know anything, they'll be like, oh, she was kind of like involved in that weird, like, sexual assault thing, or like, what was that, you know? And people are so sick of the Me Too bullshit now that this stuff that seemed so cool and hip in 2016 and 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, well, it has hit the fucking wall and people are over it. And you only need to see the reaction to other situations in the news, like the Conor McGregor thing. I'm not going to get into that, but there are tons of reasons to think that was bullshit too. Consensual thing, but whatever. But you see the reactions to it. People are just over this. They're rolling their eyes. They're moving on. And so, again, with a lawsuit, if it had continued, would it have really done anything to alter the fans' perception of Manson or the public perception, really, of anyone who actually really cares? So I know that it hurts. I have at times been frustrated as well. You know this. But ultimately, this was the decision that had to be made. And it was the right decision for Manson. I do believe that. And so, that's where we are. But I do want to say one last thing here. I have, even though the lawsuit is over, and by the way, since the lawsuit is over, I am going to be probably more or less not reporting on the allegations against Manson from here on out, unless there's something happens like, the documentary against him opens in the US and then people are talking about it, okay. Or something happens with the two remaining crazy lawsuits that he's still dealing with, okay. Or hopefully very soon, new DA decides to formally clear Manson. Any day now. So yeah, maybe I'll talk about it a bit then. But I'm moving on to other things. And one of those things that I'm going to be doing in relation to Manson is covering some of his next career moves. And so I'm going to Mexico this weekend. I'm going to that festival that he's doing with Limp Bizkit and with some other big names. And it's going to be so interesting. It's going to be a completely different environment, a completely different a set of fans, and hopefully some interesting interactions between some of these big rock stars, or at least some really interesting performances. And I'm going to get a lot more footage this time than I've gotten on prior occasions because I'm a lot more prepared now. And I think that this festival in Mexico is just a different thing from what I got in the States in terms of the concerts that I went to. So I think there's really an opportunity here to get some cool footage, and I'm going to be doing that. What Manson is doing with his career moving forward. That seems to be what he's signaling he's interested in focusing on, and I'm totally fine with that focus. And I was getting fucking bored with the Me Too stuff anyway, y'all, and maybe that at the very root of this is part of also why this lawsuit is getting dropped. Like, I'm sure he's over it. I'm over it. I think we're all over it. But I want to leave us with something here directed to Evan Rachel Wood. I still have a few questions that have not been answered. Why did one of Manson's main accusers admit in a legal declaration that she lied, that the whole thing is a hoax, and that you pressured her into it? Why did you forge that FBI letter? And if you claim that you didn't forge that FBI letter, then how did you just mysteriously come in possession of it? Why is it also then that we have iPad records of you and your co-conspirator drafting this letter? Did the stork deliver this letter? But then why the records of you drafting it? Evan Rachel Wood, why did you kidnap your child? And why did your ex-partner, father of your child, Jamie Bell, accuse you of kidnapping and withholding the child, attack your character, call you basically more or less delusional, and say that you were endangering the psychological health of the child with delusions and fantasies? Why is that? It's in those family court papers. Everybody can see on my page. I've still got it up there. That's one of those things. The shit on my page that will persist even after this lawsuit goes away. You understand that, right? It's not like when Manson presses the button on dropping the lawsuit that it disables like all PR related to the allegations in there. It just doesn't work that way. And Rachel Wood, why did Rose McGowan, Ms. Me Too, defend Manson repeatedly in the last couple of years and claim that she was bullied by your supporters to say negative things about him when in fact she had an extremely positive, abuse-free relationship with him? I just would like to know that. Also, Evan Rachel Wood, why do you think it is that Manson is supported publicly by his ex-wife, Dita Von Teese, his current wife, Lindsay Usage, and a number of ex-girlfriends and ex-lovers that I've interviewed on my YouTube channel? I'm also curious, why is it that multiple personal assistants who saw him daily and or lived with him when he was with you have defended him publicly and claimed that he was not abusive to you or to other women? Why is it, Evan Rachel Wood, that you lied and claimed that Manson forced you to have sexual intercourse on set of a filming of a music video when in fact there were multiple witnesses who saw otherwise? Evan Rachel Wood, why did you contact, recruit, and pressure other ex-lovers of Manson to accuse him? Why the conspiracy? Why is it that Erin Scold, the wife of Manson's guitarist who toured with Manson, who was around you a lot when you were dating Manson, why did she declare publicly that you were, quote, a liar and that you had destroyed many people's lives? Why did Manson's other prominent accuser, Game of Thrones actress Esme Bianco, who did those big interviews attacking him and also sued him, when she released all of her lawsuit evidence accidentally due to a lawyer screw up, why is it that when that happened, there was no incriminating evidence toward Manson in her entire collection of pseudo evidence? Why is it that there's no solid evidence of Manson's abuse that has ever been presented? Only a couple of photos that have been debunked as fake. Esme Bianco's, in her case, we don't know whose back that was, but it certainly wasn't Whitmark's. And there was what Ashley Morgan Smithline tried to pull. I mean, you don't have any documentation of anything. Why is it that your story, Evan Rachel Wood, has changed multiple times? For almost a decade, you claimed that Manson was wonderful, kind, supportive, totally not abusive. You originally also claimed that you had been assaulted by a bartender, a story that you soon forgot about and you've never mentioned again. You're just okay with that supposed bartender out there assaulting more women, right? Why is it also, Evan Rachel Wood, that you became a victim advocate and started speaking out after Trump was elected? Isn't this all a political stunt? Why is it, Evan, also that the only two men, ex-band members and ex-assistants that have supported your claims have admitted that they never actually saw anything? Oh, it's true. It's true. And then what? Well, I didn't actually see anything, but she had a dark aura around her. Why is it that one of Manson's main accusers, Ashley Walters, was actually fired twice by him, stole his car, took it on a drunken joyride, was arrested and got a DUI? Why is that just sort of shrugged off as nothing? Isn't it true, Evan, that Ashley Walters, having access as Manson's former assistant to all of his email accounts, social media, phone numbers, texts, etc., that she illegally turned all of this over to you to help you contact and try to recruit women to go after Manson? Is it not true that she helped you access his accounts and his phone numbers without his knowledge or permission? Evan Rachel Wood, why is it that you chose to collaborate with a known hoaxer named Ilma Gore, who has publicly bragged that she engages in computer hacking and computer fraud? Even before she met you, Evan, she made up a story about being punched and abused by Trump supporters, Jussie Smollett style. She also scammed people out of money for a fake charity stunt. Is it not true, Evan Rachel Wood, that you and Ilma Gore downloaded and sent illegal photographs using Marilyn Manson's account to try to get him in trouble? And why is it that the police extensively searched Manson's house, confiscated all of his electronic devices, have access to his computers and hard drives, phone records, everything, and they scoured all of this in an investigation lasting months and months and months, I think over a year, and now it's been years, They did all of this and they came up with nothing. Do you think that if they found any indication that this man actually was a serial predator, that they would just leave him prowling about for new victims? Do you really think that? You know, you're so upset, Evan Rachel Wood, about the police delaying. You whine about it in your documentary. You say, well, that's why I had to come forward and announce this stuff on Instagram because the police, they just wouldn't kick it into gear. Those damn stupid Keystone cops. Well, maybe, sweetie, did you ever think that maybe they haven't made an arrest and maybe Gascon never filed charges because they know that it's BS and they're trying to figure out what to do about this delusional crock of shit that this celebrity keeps pushing on them? Did you ever think that? If Manson is truly a dangerous predator, what is the DA waiting for? They're just letting him roam free. Why did you and the other accusers spread the lie that Manson abused an underage fan in a home movie and then she committed suicide? You know, that's what the police were going around investigating. I heard this from another witness, someone else they interviewed, that they were perplexed by this lie that you were running around telling. This was completely debunked on my channel when I interviewed the woman in question, Pole of Ice, who also talked to police. Evan Rachel Wood, isn't it true that you did not decide to publicly name Manson as your abuser until it became clear that HBO and Amy Berg were not interested in giving you the kind of big focus extended documentary that you really wanted? Why is it that if Manson were into such kinky activities as tying up and hitting and cutting and all the things that you claim, why is it that you admitted to a mutual friend that the sex was actually really vanilla and that it was disappointingly, perhaps to him, to the friend, disappointingly tame? Why did you do that? Evan, you claim that Manson forced you to have an abortion. Why is it that I have an interview with a mutual friend stating clearly that it was not Manson's child, but another's that you had cheated on Manson with and whose fetus you aborted, and that Manson knew this and was cool with it? Why? Why the discrepancy between your story and his? Why is it also that another accuser, Gabriella, was debunked when text from her to Manson's assistant Paula leaked? Gabriella had claimed, of course, in her story, her original story, that she had to be 5150'd and institutionalized because she was so devastated by her interactions, her abusive interactions with Marilyn Manson. But then, of course, Manson's assistant that I interviewed dug up old text from the exact time you claimed to be institutionalized, 5150'd, in a psychiatric hold, just sort of like casually chatting about how's Manson doing. So to Evan Rachel Wood and Manson's other accusers, I say this: enjoy the fun while it lasts of this temporary little reprieve, because after today, after tomorrow, it's going to be a long, slow, devastating sinking into ignominy for you all. Not with a bang, but a whimper. You know, guys, it's been almost 4 years. I've been churning out the videos on this, and I could not have done it without you. And so as I go to Mexico, as I try to continue to cover these milestones in Manson's comeback, I really do rely on your support, and it matters. Even the small amounts matter. And, you know, I'll need somebody to pay my kidnapping ransom when I get taken by one of the cartels. So let's just go ahead and start that fund. PayPal link is below. Chin up. Have a good day.